And I want to say a couple of words in honor of our friend Jacb L and his foundational services to the field of pragmatics. Jacb was born in 1926, and that was also the year when a number of other people were born, like Fidel Castro, John Coltrane, Dario Fo, and Joshua Fishman, and Jacb L, of course, and he is the one that is still among us. I don't have the time to go through his fascinating life story, his becoming a Jesuit, being sent to Copenhagen to study with Louis Hjelmslev, and then leaving the order. He was sent to Copenhagen because he should do something sensible there, and there were only this was only one of two things one could study in Copenhagen in the 1950s. One could study linguistics with Louis Hjelmslev, and the other option was to study physics with Niels Bohr. Copenhagen was kind of the world center as far as these two sciences were concerned. Jacb chose to study linguistics with Louis Hjelmslev, and in 1960, his PhD equivalent thesis was published with the title La catégorie du nombre en finnois moderne. Well, not much of pragmatics yet, but in 1972, at the International Congress of Linguists in Bologna, Jacb gave a paper, Some Practical Aspects of a Theory of Linguistic Performance. Still couched in the fashionable terminology of the day, competence performance, he was already moving towards pragmatics. And maybe which is even more interesting, one of the questions he posed in this paper and tried to answer is, how is all this relevant to problems of linguistically underprivileged minority groups? Well, two things are interesting here. Of course, that Jacb, as early as 1972, was aware of the relevance of linguistics for social issues, a question that he has pursued all the time ever since. But also that he, on the one hand, assumes that linguistically underprivileged groups must be minority groups, as if the majority could not be underprivileged or linguistically underprivileged. And also that he in the first place, very cautiously, not talks about underprivileged groups in general, but more specifically, linguistically underprivileged groups, a restriction he has given up later. When I met Jacb first, it was in this building in the icy spring of 1975 at a course, not a summer course, because it was actually in the spring, but a course in computational semantics held at the Istituto di Studi Semantici e Cognitivi of the Dalle Foundation in Castagnola near Lugano in Switzerland. And he was working on two projects. The first one was a book that came in the Janua Linguarum series of Mouton publishers in The Hague, Paris, and New York, called Pragmalinguistics Theory and Practice, a book that, due to many delays, only appeared in 1997. Sorry, 79. But he has also another project, and that was a journal that, although its planning had started later than the book, saw the light already in 1977 through the help of Dutch linguist Simon C. Dick, who brought Jacb in contact with the publisher North Holland. You're all familiar with this title page, which luckily has not been changed in the many years since the first issue. Of course, the traditional Carnap-Morris distinction between syntax, semantics, know whether the editors decided that was maybe too much of a joke, or that the designers at North Holland objected to it. Anyway, Jacb continued to be the editor and chief editor of the journal for 33 years until 2010, when he was terminated as an editor due to old age, although he only was 84 then. But you cannot stop Jacb from academic editing, so he soon had his new journal ready, which is still kicking and alive to this day, Pragmatics and Society. I want to go through very, very quickly a number of Jacb's publications, first books, and then edited volumes, of which there are really many, so I can't mention them all. There was a book in the Pragmatics and Beyond series, Whose Language? Studying Linguistic Pragmatics in 1985. The title hints at a line from Zlatan Dudov and Bertolt Brecht's film Kuhle Wampe oder Wem gehört die Welt of 1933. Again, obvious the connection of Jacob's research interests with social issues. Then in 1983 came his Pragmatics volume, which was revised significantly and republished in 2001. In the revised edition, Jacb promoted his concept of a generalized situational or pragmatic act, or the pragme. I was always fascinated, as Jacb was, by the picture on the cover, actually even more so after I had seen it in the original in the Tate Gallery in London. It is the painting by Dice, Pegwell Bay, Kent, a recollection of October 5th, 1858, with Donati's comet. Now you can ask, well, where is the comet? Well, you have to go to London to look at the picture. It is there. It is somewhere there in the sky. And in the reproduction, it isn't visible. And nobody, except for the person in the right margin of the picture, seems to pay any attention to it. And Jacb has written a nice article about that in the Journal of Pragmatics in 1997, where it almost sounds as if Jacb is the one there who is the only one who notices what is going on in the sky. And what's going on there is pragmatics, the new thing, like the new star, that people should pay attention to, but most of them haven't quite got yet. Well, times have changed ever since. Then another book came in 1998, reprinted in 2010, now available as ebook, When Voices Clash, a study in literary pragmatics. And I just want to pass some of the books Jacb edited, for example, in 1995, a book on cognitive technology in search of a humane interface. And 2 years later, after a conference in Aizu, Wakamatsu in Japan, Humane Interfaces, Questions of Method and Praxis in Cognitive Technology. And as a kind of a side effort of the Encyclopedia of Languages and Linguistics, brought out by Pragmatics Press in Oxford, of which Jacb also had been one of the contributors, his own concise Encyclopedia of Pragmatics coming out in 1998 and in a revised version in 2009. Well, what can I say about Jacb? Jacb has founded 2 journals, which is more than most other linguists have done. The Journal of Pragmatics and Pragmatics and Society. He got 3 Festschrifts, one on the occasion of his 60th birthday, edited in Odense and published by Odense University Press, as it was called at that time. One on the occasion of his 70th birthday, also after a symposium held in Odense, edited by Leo Hoy, Flemming G. Anderson, and Johannes Wagner. And then a real monumental one on the occasion of his 80th birthday, edited by Ken Turner, Language in Life and Alive in Language. Well, even Roman Jakobson only got 2 Festschrifts. So that's certainly an achievement. The blurb that is used by the publisher to announce the 3rd Festschrift, I don't know who wrote it, I guess it must have been Ken Turner, is something I just wanted to read because it says in a very concise way what I really should say here in this laudatio. Professor May is and has for a long time been at once one of the most respected, enterprising, industrious, scholarly, and now avuncular members of the numerous linguistics communities in which he has worked. He has made, over a distinguished working life, significant contributions to all of the subdisciplines of linguistics, from phonetics through phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and especially pragmatics. He has sought to make connections between these subdisciplines and broader areas of thought. These connections have resulted in groundbreaking advances in, for example, Japanese social linguistics, pragmatics and artificial intelligence, Marxist linguistics, pragmatics in therapy, pragmatics in machine process information, gender and language, literary pragmatics, and societal pragmatics. Very well done and very well said. But of course, we have the perennial question, what is pragmatics and what pragmatics are we talking about when we talk about Jacb and pragmatics? This is a quote from the Handbook of Pragmatics, edited by Horn and Ward in 2004. It should be noted, however, that other traditions, especially among European scholars, tend to employ a broader and more sociological conception of pragmatics that encompasses all aspects of language use, not falling strictly within formal linguistic theory. See, for example, the entries in Verschuren and others in 1995, and May edited 1998. What Larry and Greg refer to here is, in the first case, the Handbook of Pragmatics, published by Benjamins in Amsterdam, and for the second, the aforementioned concise encyclopedia of pragmatics that Jacb edited. By defining their own version of pragmatics, they implicitly also define exactly what I would call Jacob's pragmatics, because when they talk about other traditions, especially among European scholars, they're talking about the kind of pragmatics Jacb stands for. Now, neither Larry nor Gregory are from the enemy camp, far away from that. They're friends and have both published in Journal of Pragmatics under Jacob's editorship. But it was Stephen Levinson who found a word for what was the other pragmatics in his book Pragmatics, which appeared in the same year as Jacob's Pragmatics book, namely 1993. He talks about continental pragmatics. Now, this pragmatics that is dealt with in the book, Stephen makes some effort to delineate from the broader of what he calls continental pragmatics, to which Jacob's pragmatics clearly would have to be counted. He introduces this continental pragmatics as broader, spilling into social linguistics, than the Anglo-American tradition based on both logical and ordinary language philosophical approaches, a remark that could invite to a cheap quip, and has invited to a cheap quip, that this one then must be insular pragmatics, that is Stevens. Jacb is not mentioned explicitly, but the Journal of Pragmatics is, as representative of this continental pragmatics. Ironically, the English Wikipedia characterizes Stephen as a British social scientist known for his studies of the relations between culture, language, and cognition. But of course, this is a bit later than the publication of his Pragmatics book in 1993. What a pity that Stephen could not be here with us today, which he had considered but was not able to. I would like to point out that there are two recurrent themes in Jacob's academic development and scholarly production. The first one is maybe not so obvious, and some may not consider it so central, although it has been mentioned and come up here several times already today. But if you look at what he has written and researched, then you cannot miss that his interest in computation and computers has never left him, ever since he worked for the RAND Corporation in America, and he was even for a while on the board of the journal Future Generation Computer Systems, which at that time actually was called Fifth Generation Computer Systems. Artificial intelligence, but more and more from the perspective of the empowerment of the user against the machine, or rather those who have the say over the machine, and that way have the say over the user. But even more important, and visible in his writings since the 1970s, is his commitment to emancipation of humankind and whatever linguistics and pragmatics can contribute to that. In the 60s and 70s, we all, or many of us at least, thought the link was very direct. And if only we worked hard, we could soon arrive in a better world without hardships for any suppressed group. Things have maybe even got worse for some of these groups, as we can see today. Well, people could call us 68ers for that reason naive. Maybe we were. But our conviction that the hope for the better finally will lead to the necessary changes was the right thing. Jacb has taught me personally a lot of things, not least about editing. One of them was that the best is the worst enemy of the better. This certainly applies to much more than just editing. In my preparation of this laudatio, I found a quote from Jacob's Pragmatics book of 1993 in the introduction by Leo Hoy, Flemming Andersen, and Johannes Wagner to Jacob's second Festschrift, which I'm quoting here. On balance, the important question may not be on balance, the important question may be not what has been achieved, but whether there is a movement in the right direction. Is there a light at the end of the tunnel? Can there be any, oops, sorry. Oh. Sorry about that. Sorry, I start again. On balance, the important question may be not what has been achieved, but whether there is a movement in the right direction. Is there a light at the end of the tunnel? Can there be any hope of practicing pragmatics in the sense of what used to be hopefully called emancipatory linguistics? Now, considering all this, one might well ask, well, the IPrA has now given the John J. Gumpert's Lifetime Achievement Award to several scholars, last in this year to Deborah Tannen. How come that Jacb never got it? People have asked me that at least since the IPrA meeting in Belfast and continuously after that. Simple answer, this award is given by the IPrA Consulting Board, and the Consulting Board cannot give it to one of its own members. And Jacb is a member, and that's it. So he is not available, eligible to the Gumpert's Lifetime Achievement Award. But as Bertolt Brecht says in the Three-Penny Opera, wo die Not am größten, ist die Rettung am nächsten. So in comes, and here I pass the word to Jeff Verschuren, Secretary General of the International Pragmatics Association, who, due to the COVID-19 situation in Belgium, only can be with us from Antwerp via Zoom.
Thank you, Hartmut. Thank you, Hartmut.
Yes.
I think I'm in. Now,
yeah, I have to get out.
So, hello, everybody. And in particular, hello, Jacb, who must be there somewhere. Now, let me first say that Anne and I, as Hartmut already suggested, Anne and I were planning to be physically present in Odense at this moment. But, and the trip was all planned, but just a few days ago, we had to go into quarantine because of a well-known virus that intervened. So today, I'm very grateful for the technologies that we've all had to get used to. Now, Hartmut already explained why we could not present Jacb with the Lifetime Achievement Award that he fully deserves. In fact, in the case of Jacb, it looks like multiple lifetimes would have to be celebrated. Hence also the 3 Festschrifts that Hartmut mentioned. Now, but IPrA, of course, wouldn't be IPrA if the members of the consultation board could not have found a solution for this conundrum. It would have been irresponsible to leave the problem unsolved because Jacb has touched the lives and work of literally thousands of people in the pragmatics community. And there is more. I have heard many colleagues call him. Now, that is why recognition for Jacob's incomparable contribution would have to emphasize its uniqueness. with only one possible contender, namely Charles Morris. Therefore, what we are handing over to Jacb today, on behalf of IPrA President Steve Levinson, the members of the IPrA Consultation Board, and the entire IPrA community, is the IPrA Award for Foundational Service in the field of pragmatics. I would have loved to hand over the award token myself, and until yesterday it was Hartmut who was going to do this, but now I think it will be Maybrit Mosegaard. So if I'm correct, Maybrit, can you now do this on behalf of the International Pragmatics Association? And from my part, congratulations, Jacb.
Can you?
You are very well spoken. It's quite heavy.
It is heavy. It's a heavy burden.
Many congratulations.
Okay, well, I must say that I'm utterly surprised. Nothing was evident or even possible when I thought about how this day is going to end for me or for other people. I think that one of the things that Hartmut in his talk, his very beautiful talk, did not mention is the way that I came from low reaches to the top at Odense against all possible predictions and precautions. It so happened that in the mid-70s, I was execrated as the Pol Pot of linguistics. I was the person who destroyed linguistics at Odense. Well, that was probably true because the linguistics that had happened in Odense was not the kind of linguistics I liked. But to say that I was a Pol Pot, I decimated the adversaries and putting them in concentration camps, that was not my style. Well, anyway, it seems that we have come full circle today, and I got this fantastic award. What is it down? There's somewhere there. And I think, yeah, I always say that I don't think I quite deserve it because the way it happened, there were so many people around and so many happenstance events that collaborated to make it possible, to make this thing happen. The Journal of Pragmatics and Pragmatics as a recognized subdivision of linguistics, or a superdivision if you want, that I cannot possibly even begin to understand how it all happened. There must be an invisible hand that guided this process. And of course, the invisible hand would not be possible without many visible hands, like the people that are here today and those who cannot be here today, and all the people that over the years have supported me and believed in me and said, just go on, Jacb, you're on the right path. You have just to stick it out. Forget about all those people and remember what Marx said in his little footnote to the first edition of Capital. Let the people talk and follow your own course. Lascia la gente parlare e segue il tuo corso, he said. And that, I think, has been my motto ever since, maybe even before that, because my parents always said I was the eternal Protestant. And actually, my father used to say that I had been born a day too early, because tomorrow, as you know, is Reformation Day. And my dad said, you should have been born on Reformation Day, for you were always protesting. And I think he was right. So thank you all for coming, and thank you all for arranging this thing. And I must say, I did find a talk in my pocket. but it was not the right kind of talk. It was a talk I had held for my daughter's 50th birthday, so that I spare you that. So this is improvised and not unforeseen and surprising. And I'm really, I must say, I'm most thankfully surprised. Thank you so much.